Welcome in to Indians Live, brought to you by your Northern Ohio GMC dealers. Today at Target Field, the Indians will try and win this series against the Minnesota Twins in the rubber match as they take on Minnesota for the third time in 3 days. They also lead the season series now 6-5, making it 7-5 before heading out to Oakland. Would be a very good thing, especially after last night. All the teams the Indians wanted to lose did, both in the Central and in the wild card race as well. And the Tribe got that win last night, 5-2. Welcome in here to the show along with Jensen Lewis. I'm Al Pulowski. Great to have you here. Yesterday, Zach McAllister was a big key for the Indians in a place he historically has not been good. 3 starts in Minnesota going into last night, 0-3 with an even 8 ERA. Not the case last night. Jensen, he was very good. Why was that?
He got back to what Zach McAllister is good at, and that's pounding the strike zone and getting ahead of guys with his fastball. I think, honestly, he could tell you even after last night, he felt a lot more comfortable than that Detroit start, and it was obvious when he got into the 6th inning, Indians needed that really bad.
Speaking of that 6th inning, let's go to that now. It's our Subway Fresh Play of the day. Getting out of that 6th inning. This is the old Zach McAllister, that solid pitcher that we've grown used to seeing.
Yeah, and I think when you look at the rest of this start, it was all about quality execution for Zach McAllister. He made big pitches in the 6th inning to get out of a jam in which this game could have been a lot closer than what it was. He really bared down, made quality pitches. I was very impressed with him last night.
Yeah, Zach McAllister looked very good. The Indians need him now, especially with Corey Kluber on the disabled list, and they need that pitching depth. As far as last night goes, though, Zach was fairly pleased with his outing.
I felt like I was probably a little bit more relaxed, but my biggest thing was command. I was able to work on a few things in between outings and was able to take that into the game and felt really confident out there.
Just what was important for him today was getting to that 1st inning and forgetting about his last start. And he did a really good job. And I mean, even Willingham came up with the home run, but he still shut the door.
Oh, it was huge. He just pounded the zone, filled it up with strikes, and that's what he's going to do. And we knew coming back off the DL and off the finger issue, it might take him a little while to get his groove back, but he throws strikes, and that's all you can ask.
The other thing McAllister did last night for the Tribe, besides just winning the game, was getting deeper into the game, Jensen. The Indians needed that. Their bullpen had been used up quite a bit, but he gave you 6 solid innings. Makes it easier when you have 3 to go to the bullpen instead of 5 or 6.
I think it's good when it's unanimous amongst the clubhouse guys and us that we're seeing the same thing. And I really like how everyone said he pounded the strike zone. That is key for any starting pitcher, but especially after that last start where he had some difficulty getting out of the 3rd inning. Zach McAllister is a key for this starting rotation. He really, really came up big for him last night.
And the bullpen was good as well. Once again, this bullpen in the last couple of weeks, I think, has been very underrated. Last night, 3 innings, 1 hit, no runs, no walks, 2 strikeouts. Everybody did their job. Cody Allen, Joe Smith, Chris Perez.
Last 10 games, the Indians bullpen has been an absolute shot in the arm. Got to give a lot of confidence to all these guys 1 through 7. And I think when you really look at it, the bullpen is going to be a key figure if you're going to make the playoffs. When you have guys that have been able to embrace roles that they haven't been in before, Joe Smith filling in for Vinny Pastano, Cody Allen coming of age. I think he's a huge key going down the stretch. He pitched a really, really good 7th inning last night. Chris Perez doing what he's been doing. This is a really, really tight unit right now, a team within a team.
Joe Smith, the setup guy, said, hey, the pen is doing its job, and that's a key.
You just do it. You don't really say much. But, before that, our starters were throwing the ball extremely well and going deep into games. And, we had a little hiccup for about a week. And, that's just part of the season. It's long. It happens. But, I expect all of those guys to rebound well.
Let's take a look at the bullpen numbers for just the last 5 games. They've pitched over 20 innings, and the ERA is at 133. The opponent's batting average is at 132. Those are great numbers. And the Indians have won 2 of the last 3, Jensen. Bullpen is a big part of why.
Well, it's critical. They've only had to pitch, a minimal amount of innings. When you give the bullpen rest, they're able to really maximize what their talent is. They've done a great job.
So the Indians, with the win yesterday, now have a chance to win the series against the Twins. Also win 3 of their last 4. Kind of get back on a little bit of a winning streak here. And the Tribe said, yeah, getting that win yesterday, that was important.
Oh, it's nice. Anytime you can get a win and, you've lost, I think, 7 out of your last 8, it's nice just to kind of get over that hump and, play a good baseball game. We've been beating ourselves lately, and And that's never fun. So tonight, just getting a win, kind of getting that monkey off your back, and come out tomorrow with a lot of energy, and like you said, to get a series win going into an off day.
Every win counts right now, especially we're coming into that part where the wild card is getting close, or even the Central. So we just got to get every win count and just get things rolling though.
Tigers got beat by the White Sox last night. That was a good sign. And in the wild card race, Oakland lost, Tampa Bay lost, Kansas City lost. That's a good sign. Baltimore lost. So now the Indians 3.5 back, Jensen, and 4 games back from the top spot. So they're 4 games out of 2 spots. You can look at it that way, too.
I think that's a good way to look at it, Al. But as a former ball player, you got to control what you can control. And the Indians have to worry about winning these games, especially in Minnesota. And then coming up, this is a huge, huge road trip for them. Oakland, a team in front of them in the wild card standings. And then you owe Anaheim after they took 2 or 3 at home. All
right, those are the next 6 games coming up after today, Friday through Wednesday. But let's get a look at our poll question here this afternoon at foxsportsohio.com. It is, who's been the most valuable member of the bench? Last night, Yan Gomes, 2 more hits. Ryan Rayburn, a home run. Jason Giambi's been great. Micah Vilas, he's in the starting lineup today. You could make an argument for all 4 of these guys. For me, though, Jensen, I'm going with Yan Gomes.
I like him, especially as a pitcher, but I'm going to go with Jason Giambi. You almost have a second manager in that clubhouse. And when you talk about guys that have playoff experience, knowing how to win down the stretch, you've got some young kids that are starters. Alani Chisenhall that's probably going to be going to him. Even Jason Kipnis, a guy that's really flourished. I think Jason Giambi brings the most to this team going down the stretch.
Yeah, I can't understate what the bench has done for the team this year. We'll talk more about that coming up in just a few moments here on Indians Live. Plus, a little bit later, get a closer look at the starting lineups today and what Carlos Carrasco has to do to get a win in Minnesota. Stay tuned. Indians Live is brought to you by your Northern Ohio GMC dealers and the 2013 GMC Terrain. With over 100 standard features, the Terrain is designed to make you more capable. That's professional grade. And by Just for Men Mustache and Beard. Tribune Twins today at Target Field. The Indians trying to win this series at a place that hasn't been very friendly to them. But the Indians with Carlos Carrasco hope that changes today. Kyle Gibson is on the hill for Minnesota. Definitely a winnable game, to say the least, but that's why you play them.
Absolutely.
But figure out how it goes. Justin Masterson there, signing some autographs for the fans. There's some Indians fans up there in Minneapolis today as well. Once again, welcome back to the show. Along with Jensen Lewis, I'm Al Pulowski. Time now for our Just for Men Mustache and Beard Play Like a Champ profile, and that is Yan Gomes. Look at what he's done in his last 13 games. Jensen, great behind the plate, but at the plate, hitting. Man, he's been on fire.
An absolute bonus for this team. And when you look at spring training, this is a guy that didn't even break with the club. Got an opportunity when Lou Marson went down with that injury. I think the biggest compliment, though, for Yan Gomes, you see how this rotation and this entire pitching staff has really gotten with him on the same page very quickly. There's a lot of confidence. And when you have a catcher that's able to contribute, Carlos Santana obviously is a very, very good hitter. But with Yan Gomes being able to have production in the bottom third of that lineup, huge bonus for this team.
Well, he had the 2 hits last night, and those 2 hits came, I thought, in key situations. They were parts of rallies, and Yan Gomes delivered. With the way he's hitting now, Jensen, he's off today, but he's been forcing his way into this everyday lineup.
And that's a compliment to him and his hard work. And I think if you ask anybody on this team, what do you respect the most about what Yan Gomes has done? He's just come in every day, done what's asked of him, and contributed. And when you're Terry Francona and you have a guy that's off the bench that not only can catch well, is defensively very good, what an arm he has. Yeah. And then the offensive production late in the game, just an absolute steal for this team.
He's been outstanding, a part of the bench. The 4 guys we always talk about, him, Avilas, Giambi, and Ryan Rayburn. Rayburn last night, a 2-run homer, his 14th of the season. Here's a guy that's a part-time player. He already has 14 jacks. Another guy that not only is forcing his way into the lineup, forced his way into a new contract.
I remember pitching against him when he was with Detroit. Always a guy that had really good hands, could handle a fastball well. But I think the biggest thing with Rayburn, he's a veteran guy. He's embraced his role. He really, really values the time that he gets in the lineup, and he's really paid dividends, that's for sure.
He has done that indeed. So great to see the bench doing as well as it has. And who is in the starting lineup today? We'll let you know in just a little bit right here on Indians Live. Up next, we'll ask Arch some of your questions with Sarah. What is Archie answering today? But first, this day in history brought to you by your Northern Ohio GMC dealers. We go back to 2003. Travis Hafner hit for the cycle in the Indians' 8-3 victory over the Twins at the Metrodome. Hafner is the 7th and last Indians player to hit for the cycle. Game day weather report brought to you by the Northeast Ohio Regional Sewer District. Today in Minnesota, pretty nice looking day, 73 degrees, partly cloudy, wind blowing right to left about 7 miles per hour.
Play two.
Why not? Why don't you tell them? Now, you have the responsibility of telling these guys they have to play two, by the way. I don't think Jensen wants to do it. All right, Target Plaza in Minneapolis. Pretty cool feature. Katie Witham has more.
Here on Target Plaza at Target Field. It's located right outside the right field gate, and as you can see, it's a pretty popular place to come and hang out with your friends, your family before the game starts. You can learn a little bit about the Twins' history. We've got some of the statues of the Twins greats like Kirby Puckett and Rod Carew, but my favorite spot so far is right over here. As you can see, we've got a giant gold glove. It is definitely a popular picture-taking spot. You can kind of check out and see all of the Twins players who have ever won the Gold Glove Award. But an interesting fact, it's located exactly 520 feet from home plate. That's the distance of Harmon Killebrew's longest home run. I'm going to hang out a little bit longer out here, but for now, I'm going to send it back to you guys in Cleveland.
Katie, it looks like somebody just took your seat there.
That
Did you
was
see
pretty
that?
fun. I like that.
That was pretty
Great
fun.
idea.
The Golden Glove out there.
Right.
520 feet away. Back here in the studio, Jensen Lewis in for Jason Stanford this week. I'm Al Pulowski. Well, what about Rick Manning? What about him?
Ricky.
All right, we always love to hear what Rick has to say. Time now for another feature. It's Ask Arch. Here is Sarah.
We are here in the Collection Auto Club at Progressive Field with Rick Manning for another edition of Ask Archie, where you can ask your questions to him via Facebook and Twitter. So let's go ahead and get things started. We have our first question today from Steve on Facebook, and he wants to know, if you were a veteran on the team, how would you handle the ups and downs the team is going through this year?
Well, you don't have to be a veteran to handle it. I mean, it's the daily life in the big leagues. You got to take the good with the bad, and after this last series we had with Detroit, that's part of the bad, that you have to, turn the page. You got to wake up and come out. There's always another game tomorrow. So you go up, you try and keep your spirits up. And through the good times, you never get too high. Everything with 162 games, people don't understand how long that baseball season is. There are going to be ups, there are going to be downs, but being a former everyday player, you try and stay as level as you can. You never get too high, you never get too low, and you just come out with the same attitude every day. And hopefully everybody does that, but it takes time to learn. It's not an easy thing to do. So if I was in there right now and I was a veteran, I'd try and be pumping these guys up.
Very good point. All right, our next question is from Vince on Facebook, and he wants to know, who was your favorite teammate?
Oh, wow. I played with so many different guys. I have so many of them. I can't just pick one. I came up with Dwayne Kuiper, who he and I were, roommates in the minor leagues. I loved him, and he does the games for the San Francisco Giants now. I still get to see him. Buddy Bell was a very good friend, and he was a great ball player. And you go on and on. Mike Hargrove, who we spent 5 years here. Toby Hara, who played here. You go on, and Rick Sutcliffe, and I played in Milwaukee for 5 years, and I had guys like Robin Yount and then Paul Molitor, and there were just so many guys that are great teammates, and you had a chance to share a year or 2 years or 3 or 4 or 5 years with these guys. There's no way to pick one. I mean, you pretty much like all your teammates. There hasn't been too many that I have disliked, let me put it that way.
That's great. All right, our last question is from Charlie on Twitter, and he wants to know, how do you handle the heckling fans from the field?
You ignore them, just like you would do a crying kid. You just walk into the dugout or you run into the dugout. No, the minute you let a fan, whether you're at home or on the road, know that you can hear them. And believe me, you can hear them out there between the lines. It's not like we're deaf. We have ears, and, you can hear pretty much everything when you're coming off the field. The minute you make eye contact with somebody that's yelling at you about anything, let's say you struck out with the bases loaded and you're walking back to the dugout and they call you a bum, just look down and go into the dugout. There's sometimes you want to say something, but the minute you do, that's when you're going to get yourself in trouble. Ignore them, put cotton in your ears, use earplugs, do what you have to do, because at sometimes fans can be very, very tough on you, especially your home fans. And when you go on the road, you're used to it. When you go on the road and the fans are yelling at you, that means you're doing a very good job or you're beating their team, so you accept it, and you accept it with a smile. That's when you look up and wave to them.
That's great. Thanks so much, Rick, for answering our questions. We'd love to have your questions for our next segment, so make sure you send those into our Facebook page. And check out our extended version of this interview for a little more question and answers on foxsportsohio.com.
There he is. Ask Archie. Cotton in the ears. That is the secret.
I think Rick rehearsed from Bull Durham, honestly.
No, you think? Not Archie.
Shared half the movie there.
Hey, is Archie in the starting lineup today? Probably not. But we have the starters for you. That's coming up next. Plus, what are 3 keys for the Indians to do today to get a win? Stay tuned. Indians Live is brought to you by your Northern Ohio GMC dealers and the 2013 GMC Terrain. With over 100 standard features, the Terrain is designed to make you more capable. That's professional grade. MLB news and notes for you. How about those White Sox? They beat the Tigers again. Garcia getting a little revenge.
Big help right there.
Your old teammate, Shin-Soo Choo, he did well.
Tusa.
And how about this guy, Paul Goldschmidt? What a year.
I was lucky enough to play with him in spring training last year. You could see it then, but he has had a huge breakout year this year. Happy for Goldie.
Yeah, he's been playing great for the Arizona Diamondbacks. All right, how about our poll results? We have those for you now from foxsportsohio.com. Who's been the most valuable member of the bench? This one close.
We can't win one.
No, Rayburn gets it. How about that?
46%. So far, yeah.
And you went with Giambi at 3%. At least I had Gomes at 42. They kind of got you pretty good there.
Strong silver medal performance. Right
strong. No, more like a strong bronze for you. Well, I don't know if I want to say strong.
No.
We're back in the studio. Thanks for joining us here on Indians Live as we get you ready for today's game. Indians and Twins from Target Field, the rubber match as the Tribe tries to win the series. So let's see what's on tap with the starting pitchers, brought to you by City Tap. First up, Kyle Gibson. This season, the numbers not so strong, and in his last 3, he has an ERA close to 8, making his first start ever against the Tribe, but at least he's a right-hander.
Really has struggled, and if you're the Indians, you really want to get his pitch count high, get him out of the ball game early.
All right, Cleveland Indians lineup for you today. A couple of guys getting days off as Drupal Cabrera with the day off. Michael Brantley has hit the ball very well in his last 9 games. And how about Jason Kipnis against Minnesota this year? A .429 batting average in 11 games.
I'm going to go on a limb here. I want to say Carlos Santana has a huge day. A guy that really likes right-handers that leave the ball up in the zone. I think he's a guy to watch today.
And he's in the cleanup spot today, too, with Cabby off.
Catching.
So, yep, Santana moves to the cleanup spot. He's catching, and he's catching Carlos Carrasco here, who was very good out of the bullpen his last time out. That was against the Angels. 5 innings, no runs, threw just 57 pitches. But against Minnesota earlier this year, Jensen, back on June 23rd, he just went 4 2/3 innings, gave up 3 runs and took the loss.
Biggest key for Carlos today, don't change anything. Take the same approach from inning number 1 as you did when you came in the other night and threw what I thought was his best outing of the year.
All right, let's take a look at the Minnesota Twins lineup for you. Joe Mauer not getting a day off today. He's behind the plate, hitting second. He's 2 for 5 with a double against Carrasco, but this year against the Indians, hitting .268. Not bad, but for the season, .314. So the Indians have done their best at keeping Mauer in check.
Yeah, and I think, too, Brian Dozier and Trevor Plouffe, 2 guys that have flown under the radar in this lineup. Whenever you have Mauer, Morneau, Willingham right there in the middle, I think those are 2 guys that if you can keep them off the base paths, you're going to be in a good chance to succeed.
All right, what do the Indians need to do today to get the win against Minnesota, get out of Target Field with the win? Let's take a look at 3 keys. It's the GMC On Deck Circle, brought to you by your Northeast Ohio GMC dealers. First up for Carlos Carrasco. At the AAA level this year, Jensen, he's been dominant. At the Major League level, he's been very inconsistent. Here's the key. His last outing, he was great. Pitch like that out of the bullpen today as a starter.
Yeah, just don't change your approach, Alan. I think you hit it. He just needs to do what he's been doing in AAA. Be as aggressive down there up here, and I think he'll be just fine.
Second key for the Indians today, their magic number really is 5 when we're talking about runs scored. Indians have won 12 of their last 13 games when scoring 5 or more runs. You do that with the way the pitching staff has been. Maybe some slight inconsistencies, but overall it's been pretty good. You give them 5 runs, you're probably going to get the win.
Any position player will tell you that hitting is contagious. If you can put back-to-back games together from last night to today, I think you go into the off day feeling a lot better about yourself. And
the final key for the Indians today, rubber matches on the road. Believe it or not, the Indians have done pretty well. 4-1 in rubber games on the road this year, 7-2 overall. So these are the types of games they do well in. Continue the trend.
I think these guys like happy flights. It might be just me, but again, this is a critical game for the Indians, not only for them, but also in the standings. You get a chance to take a breather on Thursday, maybe catch a half game in the standings from teams that are ahead of you that are playing. Again, these are teams, if you want to be in the playoffs, you want to be a championship team, these are games you must win.
Carlos Carrasco today, if you had to tell him one thing, Jensen, to win, what would that be?
Be aggressive with your fastball. He did a great job getting ahead of hitters last time, and I think with his breaking ball, that's the best slider I've seen out of relief. He needs to take that same approach from inning number 1. I think he'll do a really, really good job.
We'll see what happens. All the action coming up next. Matt Underwood and Rick Manning the call. For Katie Witham and Jensen Lewis, I'm Al Pulowski. Thanks for watching Indians Live, brought to you by your Northern Ohio GMC dealers. Have a good one. Comeback win for the Tribe today to take the series in Minneapolis. Indians Live brought to you by Conrad's Tire Express and Total Car Care, Northeast Ohio's hometown tire and service team since 1969. Indians do it in extras today, 12 innings. 9-8's the final. Chris Perez winds up with the win. He's 5-2. Joe Smith, very impressive 12th inning for the save. Presley takes the loss. He falls to 3-3. What was the difference today on the comeback? We'll talk about that, plus hear from Indians skipper Terry Francona first on Indians Live. Along with Jensen Lewis, I'm Al Pulowski. Great to have you here, Jensen. Today, the Indians got that comeback win they needed.
Yeah, this is a game they needed to have, especially how it started and how this road trip needed to go for them. I think, honestly, when it comes down to it, we knew that Oakland could probably be the pivotal series, probably of the year at this point. They're going into it feeling happy about their momentum right now. Much needed off day for this bullpen tomorrow after what they did today, and going into Friday feeling pretty good about themselves.
All right, in the 12th inning was Michael Brantley with the game-winning RBI and a sacrifice fly. He also had a couple of other hits today. He's standing by with Katie Witham.
Thanks, Al. Well, Michael, this was a back-and-forth game where your Indians offense, you guys never quit, kept rallying back and forth. I mean, how were you guys able to ultimately pull this off?
It's a group effort, team effort. I mean, we never say quit. We had some big clutch hits, and I don't know, that's a good win, a long day, but I like to come out on top in those.
You had a couple of those big clutch hits, 3 RBI today. Your RBI sac fly was the one that gave you guys the lead. Just how are you able to continually produce when you've got guys out there on base?
Make sure I put good swings on good pitches, not try to do too much. I'm really just trying to do the best I can for my team each and every time. It's a good atmosphere in this locker room. We're battling each and every day, and that's all you got to do.
Jason Kipnis right here coming up with some hits today. But, Michael, you guys 20 games in 20 days. Did you need a win like this heading into your off day?
It's always nice to get a win like this heading into the off day. I know everybody's tired. I know our bullpen's tired. I mean, we used everybody today almost. And it's nice that we're going to have a day off. We're going to enjoy it. And come back ready to play Oakland, ready to fight.
Michael, appreciate the time. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Al, Jensen, Michael Brantley, 2 for 5 today, 3 RBI and 1 run scored. For now, we'll send it back to you in Cleveland.
All right, Katie, and got some help there from Jason Kipnis. He looked like an alien with those glasses on.
Couple characters, aren't those guys? Huh?
They are.
Yeah.
Good move today, though, as the Indians take the win. They were down 4-0, and they were down 7-3 both times. They come back, get it done in 12 innings. Let's take a look at the highlights. Plenty of them this afternoon in Minneapolis, bottom of the first. How about Joe Mauer? Big day today, 5 hits. Here's his first one, a single. Then Justin Morneau, a double. Then Josh Willingham, a sac fly. Twins up early.
Not exactly what Carlos Carrasco wanted to have coming into today, and especially the Indians needing kind of a follow-up performance to what Zach McAllister did yesterday. Unfortunately, Carlos getting down early. You know, and I think today, honestly, it looked like he was kind of tentative in the early innings, and I think that's why he gave up the hits that he did.
Oswaldo Arcia, double here, 2-0 Minnesota. So, yeah, the Twins came out swinging those bats well, and Carrasco, not the start he wanted.
Yeah, and I think if you compare it to his last outing, he really executed his breaking ball and his fastball. All I saw today in the early innings was fastballs up in the strike zone, sliders that really didn't have that late bite, and you saw what Minnesota did with it.
Yeah, Carrasco just unlucky on that last one, but here's Mauer again, another RBI base hit. Twins were ahead 4-0.
I mean, again, it's no different if you're playing Minnesota or Detroit or anybody else in the big leagues. If you leave pitches up, major league hitters are going to do damage.
Top of the 4th inning, back comes the try. Mike Aviles, 2 outs, 2 on. Key base hit there to cut the lead in half.
Now we talked about it. Just another guy off the bench just doing exactly what they've wanted all year long. Another big hit for him.
Top of the 6th inning, Jason Kipnis. He had 3 hits today. How about a leadoff double? Eventually, Michael Brantley would bring him in with an RBI single.
Yeah, Kip just continuing to hit Twins pitching really, really well this year. I don't know if it's something in the pregame spread or what, but it just seems like he loves playing at Target Field.
There's Brantley with that base hit up the middle. So the Indians were within 1 at 4-3. But then in the bottom of the 6th inning, here's that Joe Mauer guy again. Bases loaded, another base hit. Mauer with 4 runs batted in, 6-3.
When you're trying to pitch against Joe Mauer, it's almost like you have to throw him something that looks like a strike but ends up being like a ball. The guy has such good plate coverage, and he's able to do damage no matter what you throw to him or where the pitch ends up.
Let's go to the top of the 8th inning. Indians come back. Carlos Santana in a 7-3 game will reach on an error here. That'll put runners at first and second, and then Michael Brantley again. Another key hit to extend this rally to make it 7-4 and then get Giambi to the plate.
Guy who's been the most clutch hitter with guys and runners in scoring position, and then Jason Giambi. I mean, what else can you say?
G.
What else can you say about the year he's had? It feels like anytime he needs to have a big hit, he gets it for the Indians.
He's done it all year long. He ties the game there. Huge hit for Giambi, his 8th homer of the year, tied it at 7. We went to extra innings then. Top of the 10th, Santana. See ya.
I said it in the pregame. I'll say it again here. He was due for a game-changing hit. Just teed off on a high fastball. That's where Carlos Santana thrives. Getting those high fastballs and getting pitches up in the strike zone. He absolutely crushed that.
And in the bottom of the 10th, Chris Perez probably would have gotten the save except for this guy. Joe Mauer, home run. That ties the game at 8.
Only bad thing I can say about this was the pitch location. That just a fastball down the middle. Maybe it was a little low, but to an all-star like Mauer, you can't afford to leave a pitch over the middle like that.
So that evened the score, but back come the Indians. 12th inning. Michael Brantley, sac fly with 2 strikes.
Yep, and again, just a great piece of hitting. Michael has such good plate coverage, understanding that he didn't need to do too much right there. You got a guy throwing mid-90s fastballs. Just a matter of being able to get the bat on it. That's the difference.
Winning box score for the Indians today. Kipnis with 3 hits. Brantley, Giambi, Aviles all had 2. Top 7 guys in the batting order. Big days today to generate 9 runs.
And then I think, again, just look at where those big hits came from. They were veteran guys. Jason Giambi, what can you say? When you need a big hit and you need a guy that's been there down the stretch, when games matter, he had a great heartbeat right there. What a clutch hit and a game changer for sure.
And it was all about the comebacks today for the Indians. They did it 3 different times. They eventually got that win in the 12th inning. With more on the comebacks, here are Matt Underwood and Rick Manning.
Whew, what a ball game here today in Minnesota. The final score, 9-8 in favor of the Tribe. But, Rick, let's go back to where the Indians cut the gap. They got to within 4-3. And then once Minnesota punched it back out there to 7-3, it just looked like they took the life out of the Tribe. What changed? How did they get up off the deck in that 8th inning and come back like they did?
I think it was the error by Minnesota. When you come out, they had the leadoff man aboard, and then all of a sudden, Kipnis started it, infield hit. He almost made this play here. He beats it out. This is the play that I think turned it around. Gives him that little hope right there that says, okay, 1st and 3rd, they gave us a base runner, and then Michael Brantley, you needed a hit or 2 to continue that thing going. You move the line along, and then what happens? Jason Giambi comes up, and he got a pitch on the inner half, and he pulled it. Hit it out and tied the game. And 4 hitters, they tied the game. They did the same thing before we left Cleveland there. They scored 6 runs in 9 hitters against the Angels, so they come back. They're going to take the lead. Santana's had great numbers against Perkins there. His 3rd home run out of his 5 hits against him in his career to take the lead. They couldn't close the door then.
No, Chris Perez, he gave it up, but they battled back once again. And a couple of good at-bats. Down 0-2, you get a runner, move him over. That's big, and then you get Michael Brown. Who else do you want up in this situation?
Nobody. That's the guy you want at the plate with a man on 3rd base, less than 2 outs, a man on 2nd base with 2 outs. It doesn't matter. Michael's been a key RBI guy for the Indians. He drives in the go-ahead run. This time they're able to save it, and a big win to win this series here in Minnesota.
Yeah, I don't think you can really, amplify that enough, because where this club is, and they're teetering. They're in it, but a couple of crucial losses here or there could knock them right out of it. Yeah. This was a big win to hang in there, give them that confidence going into Oakland. That will be a rather large series as well.
Well, after 20 straight days, they can take a day off tomorrow and enjoy it. Why not? It was a great comeback, and enjoy the off day.
Should be a good flight to the West Coast, the Indians and the Oakland A's. Friday night, we'll have the call for you right here on Sports Time Ohio. Now back to Al and Jensen in the studio.
All right, Matt. Rick, we look forward to that coming up on Friday night and getting this win today, coming back, setting it up, especially with the off day tomorrow. That would have been a long off day in Oakland had they not won today. But this was an encouraging sign.
Yeah, and I think we can go ahead and put this Oakland series. If Detroit was the biggest series of the year, this Oakland series now becomes one of the more pivotal ones that we will see. The Indians did what they needed to do today. They took 2 out of 3. They won the series from a team they had to beat. You get a chance to regroup. You get a chance to get that bullpen somewhat rested. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, this, I think, defines the rest of the year.
Definitely some key moments today. We'll break down those moments when we return here on Indians Live. Also, hear first from Indians skipper Terry Francona as the Indians win it in 12. Jason Giambi, a huge homer. Yep, to tie it at the time at 7. 9-8's the final. Tribe, a winner. Indians Live is brought to you by Conrad's Tire Express and Total Car Care, Northeast Ohio's hometown tire and service team since 1969. And by Kia. Tribe wins it in 12 today. They take the series 2-1. 9-8 was the final. Tribe with 9 runs on 12 hits. Minnesota 8 runs on 17 hits. And the Indians get out of Minneapolis with a couple of victories, couple of key ones for the Indians, and now they move on to Oakland. That game on Friday night, we have it for you here with Indians Live, beginning the coverage at 9:30. Back here in our Cleveland studios, he's Jensen Lewis. I'm Al Pulowski. Let's go back out to Target Field now, checking with the skipper, Terry Francona. Terry talks about a couple of big home runs today for the Indians.
You got some big hits?
Yeah, we did. I mean, G's was obviously a huge one. I mean, got, and we pecked away and worked our way back into the game, and then they scored the 2 and kind of spread it out. And then G, just with a huge hit that, even when we're on the road, we're tied, so we still get to keep playing. And we battled, and they bring in Perkins, and Santana takes him deep, then Maurer takes CP deep. And fortunately, we kept playing, and then Smitty had a real clean inning.
Terry, what about Carrasco's?
His stuff is always good. Consistently from start to start, he holds his stuff very well. He just makes too many mistakes. And, a lot of times you can't get away with one mistake to good hitters. And, there's some periods where he makes 1 or 2 or 3 during an at-bat, and he's paying for it.
But is this errors in judgment?
No, location.
Location.
Yeah.
Do you know what you're going to do with him?
No, we really need the off day. I mean, for a lot of reasons, but we'll regroup, and we'll sit down probably later tonight and tomorrow and kind of figure out what we need to do.
You touched on Maurer, probably the last guy you could see at the end of the game come up with the way he was swinging.
Yeah, I was hoping he was so tired he wouldn't get, because that's pretty good day, especially when you take into consideration he's catching. That's pretty impressive.
Terry, how big is this one? You guys have kind of struggled, but you get some momentum now to keep that on this road trip going.
You know what? It's nice because we have a day off tomorrow, and anytime it's a travel day, you leave on a good note. But other than that, you turn a page and, try to get our bullpen guys as much rest as we can, and because we're going to go play a good team.
Well, Perez, just a mistake pitch.
Well, I mean, he actually pitched really well. I mean, but he fell behind 2-0 and to the wrong guy. But to his credit, he went back out for the next inning and got him out, and it set up the game for us.
That had to be nice that you could switch, get that leadoff hit in the 12th to start it off.
Yes, it's because it was a frustrating day for him. Then he stayed through the ball and hit. When he swings a bat like that, he can be really dangerous, and maybe that jump starts him.
So the Indians win it today, 9-8. We talked about it in the pregame show. 2 home runs or more, the Indians a much better team. You look at their record. Now, you figure a lot of teams would be, but especially this Tribe team, because when they're hitting home runs, they're probably going to knock runs in as well, create some other offense. But today, those home runs were so key. Let's take a look at a couple of them. First up, Jason Giambi. Indians down here 7-4, 8th inning. Jensen, it's late. You needed this. He gave it to you.
Just a guy that understands what it means to have a quality major league at bat, and when his team needed him the most, and we've talked about this all year long, he's just come up in really big spots and had really big swings. Indians couldn't have had a bigger one today. This is a huge 3-run homer in my book. They'll probably look back and say this could have been a turning point this year.
Yeah, it tied the game at 7. We would move on to extra innings. Carlos Santana hit his 14th homer of the season. Batting cleanup today. Good to see that power.
Yeah, and again, like I said in the pregame, just had a feeling that when you stick Carlos in a situation where you're trying to tell him, hey, we have confidence that you can drive in runs and get big hits for us, he's likely to produce. And this was a situation where they needed him. He's always had really good numbers against guys that throw very hard. I think today is something where he can build on it. And also, the rest of the guys in the lineup, only Stubbs and Cabby, only 2 guys that didn't have hits in the lineup. You saw guys with multi-hit games. Hopefully they take that good feeling into the off day tomorrow, kind of marinate on it a little bit, come in ready to play on Friday.
So here's the question then. Does Carlos Santana, for the time being, become your regular cleanup hitter?
I think it's probably just going to be a matchup-based thing. When he played in AAA, Carlos always hit 3rd or 4th, and I think it's just trying to instill that confidence. Find somebody who's going to be able to stick there and say, hey, I'm going to instill that fear into the opposition. Carlos did that today.
All right, more to come on Indians Live, including a trip around the majors. We'll show you what else happened today. Tigers were playing the White Sox in Chicago. How do they do? What about Kansas City and Miami? Those scores, highlights, and more coming up on Indians Live. Indians Live, brought to you by Conrad's Tire Express and Total Car Care. Northeast Ohio's hometown tire and service team since 1969. The Indians a winner today in 12 innings. 9-8 is the final from Target Field in Minneapolis. So the Indians take this series 2-1. Lead the season series against Minnesota now 7-5. Off day tomorrow, then off to Oakland. And the Fox Sports Girls road trip aboard the Fox Sports 1 Fan Express continues. The girls visited Cincinnati, where they started their day off at a local radio station. Then they arrived at the Great American Ballpark to soak in the scene. Later, they toured the Reds Hall of Fame with a look at the big Red Machine teams from the 70s. And they couldn't leave without a wiffle-ball game with Mr. Red. They wrapped their day at the Holy Grail Tavern for a Reds viewing party. Next stop for the Express, Detroit, on the road to launch. Follow the rest of their journey at foxsports.com/road to launch and get ready for the launch of America's new sports network, Fox Sports 1, in only 3 days.
Holy Grail's nice. That's a good place.
That is a good place.
Like that
You've
place.
been there.
Absolutely.
All right. Welcome back to the studio here in Cleveland. Jensen Lewis, Sal Pulowski. Indians a win today, 9-8. Let's take a look at our AT&T U-verse game note of the day for the Tribe. And for the Indians, we could have gone a number of places, but how about Mr. Clutch?
Absolutely.
They call him Dr. Smooth. I like Mr. Clutch, Michael Brand.
Yeah, and I call him Roomy from our days back in the minors. But yeah, the thing about Mike is he's always been very cool, very calm under pressure situations. This is the guy the Indians have always wanted to have up this season with runners in scoring position. Anywhere you kind of plug Michael in this year, he's really done a job. And I think, Al, going forward, you have a team now that hopefully has started to find some things out about where guys fit offensively, and hopefully that the momentum continues going into this weekend.
They've won 3 of their last 4, and if you eliminate the Andrew Albers game, who knows? They could have swept Minnesota as well. So it's good to see the Indians back on a winning track. What about the Tigers trying to get back on the winning track against the White Sox today in Chicago? Top of the 3rd inning, Tigers were down 3-0, but here he is.
Guess who?
Mr. Cabrera, 38th homer of the season, 3-run shot, 3 games.
He's just not human. It's not human what he's doing.
Still an outside shot to get that Triple Crown again.
Yeah.
That's how good he is. Let's go to the top of the 6th. Omar Infante, an RBI single. That put the Tigers ahead for good. They win it today, 6-4.
It would have been nice to have the White Sox help out again, but what can you say? That's why Cabrera's the best.
So the Indians remain 6 back in the AL Central. Royals taking on Miami, top of the 4th. KC up 1-0. Ruggiano with an RBI single to center. That tied the game at 1.
I think no matter what happens here in the last couple weeks of the season, you're going to find Kansas City right in the thick of this.
Well, they lost again today. Logan Morrison, the RBI base hit, or rather the RBI fielder's choice. And the Marlins take 2 in a row from Kansas City, 5-2. So that's encouraging.
Yep.
Here's the scoreboard for you. Showed you the highlights on those two finals. Later tonight, the Angels taking on the Yankees in the Bronx. Also in the American League, Red Sox and Blue Jays tonight, Mariners at the Rays, Brewers and the Rangers in Arlington, Texas. And on the West Coast, Astros and A's.
Houston can get a nice win there.
So if they can soften them up a little
Absolutely.
bit, that would be good. Let's move along. Highlights today from an interleague game. Baltimore, Arizona, top of the second inning. 1-0 Diamondbacks. Nick Markakis, a base hit here to left. That'll score 2, and Baltimore takes the lead.
Hey, they're going against a good guy in Patrick Corbin. Played with him last year. Just a really talented kid.
Manny Machado liked that pitch from Corbin, though. Sends it out. That's his 11th of the year. It's now 4-2. They're in the 7th.
That's a bomb right there. That's a long way.
That is a long way. Woo. He really launched it.
Yeah.
Rest of the scores from the National League as the Reds blank the Cubs at Wrigley, the Rockies over the Padres in Denver. We showed you the highlights on the Orioles-Diamondbacks game. Also tonight, Giants and Nationals at 7:05, Phillies and Braves in Atlanta. Pirates and Cards coming your way at 8:15. And the Mets and the Dodgers in L.A. How about the Los Angeles Dodgers? Are they going to lose at all the rest of the season?
2 games between the Pirates and Cardinals, though.
Yeah.
That's a good series.
That is a good series. All right. Indians, good win today against the Minnesota Twins. 9-8's the final in extra innings. Jason Kitten has led the way offensively with 3 base hits. More on this game, plus a look ahead to the Oakland series coming up this weekend right here on Indians Live next.
There's a drive to deep right field, and it is gone! Jason Giambi with a 3-run homer, and we are tied at 7. There's a high drive to deep center field. Back is Thomas. He's out of room. It's out of here. Carlos Santana breaks through with his 14th home run of the year, and the Indians take an 8-7 lead here in the 10th inning.
The Tribe will go on to win it in 12, 9-8. Indians Live brought to you by Conrad's Tire Express and Total Car Care. Tribal winner today to take this series against Minnesota. Now they get the off day tomorrow. Plenty of teams are playing tomorrow. Keep in mind the Indians 2 games ahead of Detroit on the schedule as far as games played, and some other teams as well. So now the Indians have played 20 straight days. They get the day off. That's big. Welcome back here to the studio along with Jensen Lewis. I'm Al Pulowski. Let's take a look at this weekend series against the Oakland A's, the pitching probables. And Masterson, the Indians ace, goes on Friday. A.J. Griffin's been having a good season. He'll start for the A's. Then Jimenez and Straley, Kazmir, and Colon round it out.
Biggest game of the series for me is Saturday. Ubaldo Jimenez must have his best, if it's not his best game of the year, it must be a quality start. Indians cannot afford to lose Friday. Masterson, I think, is going to have a great game, but if they lose, cannot afford to lose that swing game. I think right now this is the biggest series of the year.
And Friday night we'll be with you at 9:30 to get you started with the Indians and the A's on Indians Live. Jensen, 20 games in a row for the Indians. They go out on a winning note. They've won 3 of their last 4. They won that one today in extra innings. I think going into this off day, suddenly the momentum, which just this past weekend on Friday and Saturday after the Tigers series, after losing a couple of games to the Angels, folks were down a little bit. I think everything has changed back to the positive side after these last 2 nights.
I think you're right, Al. I think I couldn't have said it any better than that. The biggest thing that fans need to understand is you're going to go through tough stretches in the early part of the season and in the latter part of the season. How this team has bounced back at the end of these 20 days. Honestly, you could make the season now into kind of a month and a half per se. If the Indians do what they're capable of doing, get a little help from teams in front of them losing, hey, we're going to be in for an exciting September.
You can't stress it enough. Both wild card spots right now in play. Nobody's running away with any of those. And that's a wrap here on Indians Live, but stay tuned. Coming up next, Bruce Drennan. All bets are off. You can talk about this Indians win here today. And for all of your Indians news, notes, interviews, the latest, go to foxsportsohio.com. Indians Live brought to you by Conrad's Tire Express and Total Car Care. For Katie Witham and Jensen Lewis, I'm Al Pulowski. We'll talk again Friday night at 9:30. Make sure you're here for Indians Live. Tribe wins 9-8. Have a good one.
We go.